All right, it is another episode of The Grail. How is everybody? It is a Saturday, and I will tell you this, it is Small Business Saturday, and every day on The Grail is Small Business Celebration, but it is actually Small Business Saturday. I didn't know that was a thing. After Black Friday comes Small Business Saturday, and I've been celebrating tons and tons of small businesses for over 10 years. Oh, most of my life that I've found it, but I'm saying on the podcast, on Let There Be Talking now here on The Grail. And there's nothing more I love doing than shouting out these incredible people, these businesses, these families that go for it in life and lay it all on the line and make stuff that just blows my mind. And today, it is a very special episode with Cameron Weiss of WEISS Watch Company. I absolutely love this man's watches. When I first met him, he was living in LA, building watches in Torrance by hand himself, him and his wife, a full-on husband-wife team, and just blowing my mind with the Field Watch. I love the Field Watch 38 with the green army strap and the second hand at the 6 o'clock position. It's just a beautiful design. I finally got him on the show and sat down and listened to his history, how he began making watches, how he fell in love with watches. And it's just a great episode. It's here for you today. Go to his website, WEISSWatchCompany.com. That's WEISS watchcompany.com, and see the incredible stuff he makes. I love it, and I hope you guys dig it. Thank you for supporting the show and all of the people on here that I showcase weekly. I want to say one thing real quick. My love for watches has always come from old James Bond movies and stuff. I saw the new Bond movie yesterday, so this is a great, crazy coincidence that it's Small Business Saturday, and I saw Bond yesterday, and I have Cameron today. So great episode. Don't forget, we have the Grail shirt. The Grail shirt is available at DeanDelRey.com right now. It looks incredible. Get yourself a Grail shirt. And I do want to tell you guys this. Mr. Bob Weir from the Grateful Dead wears one of these watches, which is pretty damn cool. So that's a great little side story. I'm out here in Colorado. 2 shows tonight, Saturday, and then 1 tomorrow at the Denver Comedy Works. If you are just catching this last minute and you live in the Denver, Boulder area, come out and see me. It would make my night. And I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving and happy holidays coming up all the way into the new year. Let's do this, my friends. Subscribe on my YouTube channel. Leave a review on iTunes. This greatly helps. And check out my patreon.com/DeanDelRey if you want to support the Cactus Radio Network. All of my podcasts are available free on CactusRadioNetwork.com. Here he is right now. The candles are lit for Mr. Cameron Weiss. Pretty bitchin' line here. You brought your watches here. You basically have 2 body sizes, a 38 and a 42. And the 38, I guess, is automatic, optional automatic or manual, right? And then the 42 is all manual wind, mechanical wind.
Yep, everything we do is mechanical. For me as a watchmaker, it's kind of the only way to go. For the most part, there's some good quartz out there, but if I'm going to make a watch, it's going to be mechanical because I'm not a computer science person.
Yeah. Well, I mean, G-Shock and all that shit has covered that market, and those are just kind of throwaway fun watches. Or they're like the old Casio with the calculator on it.
Yeah, I had a few of those as a kid.
Yeah. But what about and we'll get way into it here, but what about automatic versus manual wind? How do you feel on that?
Part of me really loves manual wind.
Yeah.
Just for the fact that every single day you're reminded that you have a mechanical watch. With an automatic, when I wear an automatic, I tend to forget what I'm wearing. I look down at it, but it's not the same as taking it off your wrist and actually winding it and feeling the gears click, 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 and just thinking about it every day, reminding yourself how much work went into this, how much engineering and hundreds of years of horological knowledge and everything that's behind it. You're reminded daily with manual wind.
I can't even get dummies to look at my website to find out when I'm coming to town, let alone wind a watch. They're like, when you coming to Alaska? It's like, hey, I got a website. So to wind a watch, it just seems like in this world of ADD and super lazy and everybody loves just things instantly, that is a different animal for sure. And I remember having a winding watch, old Mickey Mouse watch. And then later I had the Hot Wheels one. I still have the Hot Wheels one. You know that one?
I don't think I know the Hot Wheels one.
It's just Hot Wheels, and the second hand is two cars racing around the center.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll show it to you. But I remember like forgetting to wind it. And then you would be like, what time is it? Back when you didn't have a phone and shit, you know that?
Yeah, you can't just quickly check the iPhone to reset.
Oh, you had to look up at the sun and have put sticks down and have a sundial.
Yeah.
Back in my day. But I like both, but I don't think I could ever go back to manual unless I had one of these, and then I would just, put it on and enjoy that ride. I do know my buddy Kevin Christie, who usually does the watch episodes with me. He has a new a 70s Omega he just got, and it's manual. So that's coming off a Rolex or any automatic watches. It's definitely different, but it does make you feel the soul of the watch.
Yeah.
What do you think? And we're going to get into how you started doing watches and everything, but what do you think the accuracy difference is between automatic and a manual wind?
So automatic is going to be more accurate simply because it's always fully wound.
Right.
When you're wearing it regularly, it's always fully wound when it's on your wrist. Manual wind is only fully wound in the morning when you've just wound it, and then it's slowly going to get less accurate throughout the day. And if you're one of those people that winds it when it stops instead of winding it every day, at the end it's going to be like
horrendous.
Could be 5 minutes off.
Wow.
In a few hours. So automatic for accuracy.
Would your goal as a company owner would to be to get all the watches into automatic mode? Because I know your manual mechanisms you make here in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And you have not figured out how to make an automatic yet, or does it take a lot of work?
There's a few little components that are in an automatic watch that are really complex, really hard to make, tiny little parts. When that weight swings around in the back, and you can hear it or you can feel it sometimes on certain watches, that weight, if you didn't have this other wheel, it would just completely unwind. All the power would be lost. It's a little wheel that is 2 levels, and it has these little ratcheting pawls inside of it that are tiny little microscopic parts. And if those fail, your watch essentially becomes a manual wind watch. And a lot of people will tell me, like, I have this Rolex or whatever, and it worked great when it's on my wrist, and I set it down, and then it just stops. And that's because it only works when you're wearing it, when it's actually winding, and it's because that little wheel has failed.
Right,
It's a very delicate, precise part, and it's very hard to manufacture.
So your manual winds, does it only last one day? Or
No, it'll last 2 days.
2 days.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
But it's best to wind it every day just to keep in that habit, so you don't end up sitting there going, wait a second, what time is it?
Yeah. Beautiful design. Let's get into you. It's funny you walked up. I had no idea what you looked like, so that's always interesting. I don't know what a watch person is supposed to look like because I don't look like a watch person. You don't. You look like you might make boots or tool on some motorcycles. But How did you get into watches? For me, it was early on. James Bond wore a Rolex. I wanted a James Bond Rolex. Anything James Bond had back in the day, I wanted that.
For me, I had a Swatch watch when I was a little kid that my great aunt had given me. That one was the first watch that I wore and remember wearing. My brother also got one, but he was one of those guys that smashed everything. So it ended up cracked, and he gave it to me.
I had two. I used to wear two at the same time. I had the jellyfish, the see-through one.
Yeah.
And then I had the one that you could just change all the parts and make it whatever color you wanted.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I wore them both. I'll show you a photo. I wore both on one wrist. New York time and LA time.
Yeah, the original GMT.
Yeah. But so that got you into it.
That was the beginning. That was what started me like wearing watches and being, interested. Like, hey, Mom, Dad, can I go into that watch store? But from that point on, I saved all my pennies, and I literally saved pennies. I walked into this store and I bought a freestyle watch. It was like it had all the tides and all these functions and everything. Bought this watch. I had a shoebox full of pennies, and the ladies behind the counter told me to go to the bank and have them count it out and get cash first.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
I ended up with this watch.
Did you actually count all the pennies and went, okay, I'm there, and showed up at the shoebox like, there's 38,000 pennies here?
I knew exactly how much there was. I knew exactly how much the watch was going to cost with tax. I was prepared, but I still had to go to the bank, and then they had to weigh out the pennies and wrap them. It took a couple hours.
Yeah. Did you start to get a fever for high-end watches, Tudor, Rolex, and that kind of stuff later? How does that happen?
So my parents had matching Datejusts.
Oh, cool.
Like the two-tone Datejust Jubilee.
They still got them?
No. So what got me interested in nicer watches was they went to sell them to get a down payment together to buy a house. So they sold their watches, and when they were selling them, they pulled out the boxes and the papers and all this stuff. And I was looking through the catalog, the Rolex catalog, and I just became fascinated with it. I actually took the catalog, and I was drawing in there and stuff.
What year are we talking?
This was early 90s. Yeah,
so early 90s Datejust, it's funny to think a down payment for a house, that's only going to be about, what do you think, $6,000?
Gosh, I think they probably sold them for like $6,000 or $7,000.
Yeah, three a piece.
Like
yeah, because it's early 90s Datejust, probably like $2,800 new.
Yeah, so those watches would have been from the 80s.
Okay.
I think it would have been from the 80s. Maybe earlier than early 80s. But anyway, they sold them to some dealer.
And got a down payment on a house.
I mean, they got the rest of the down payment on the house.
Right. And what city were we talking? Did you grow up in LA?
That was in Seattle.
Oh, Seattle.
I grew up in San Diego, but then lived in Seattle for a while. But yeah, I remember that, and that's what got me onto Rolex. Then I had a neighbor who was a garage sailor guy, an old-timey guy. And he would find Rolexes at garage sales.
Oh, yeah. I always hear about that.
Yeah. But when he found the cheaper stuff, he'd buy it and he'd bring it to me and give it to me. So like old Gruins and
Seikos, stuff like that.
Seikos,
yeah.
Just the cheap watches. If he found a watch, he bought it. And if he liked it and it was the higher end stuff, a good deal, he kept it. But the rest of it, he would hand on to me, and I'd either take it apart and mess with it or wear it.
So you start taking watches apart, and this is how you start to figure out like how this stuff works.
A little bit, at least how to break them further.
Yeah,
that was kind of the beginning.
Yeah. Of course,
break it more, and then you realize what breaks it. And from there, I just got better at working with like battery changes and little minor things. Just the easy stuff. Now, I couldn't really take apart a mechanical watch and put it back together and have it work.
Yeah.
But I could take it apart and see why it wasn't working and go, okay, that part something was wrong there, but I couldn't get it back together and fixed.
So what do? Do you decide to go to school to learn how to do this, or what happens?
At that point, I had no idea how to become a watchmaker.
Yeah.
It was like, I didn't even really understand that watchmakers existed. I just kind of thought watches appeared like any other product. You don't necessarily think about the people operating the sewing machines that make the socks or whatever they are.
Most people just think it just comes from like some people just think everything's on a computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, the computer made these socks.
Yeah.
So what do you do? Like, you're like, are you working like another job?
Yeah,
like
so
you're not even involved with watches.
Totally outside of watches. Okay, so I graduated high school. My parents said, we know we want to get you a watch or something watch related, but we thought maybe it might be cool if you decide, like, do you want a watch? If you do, pick it out, or we'll get you $500 worth of watchmaking tools.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, you know what? I'll go for the tools. That sounds much more fun. So I got watchmaking tools. I ended up going to USC because I still had no idea how to become a watchmaker. So I went to USC for a few years, dropped out of USC, took a job at an underwater camera manufacturing workshop.
Like a housing place?
Yeah, exactly. Underwater camera housings.
Oh, yeah.
And we machined stuff out of plastics and out of aluminum. But the cool thing was the owner there, put me through CNC training. I also got to go through scuba diving certification and go scuba and surf and mess with the cameras. But also after hours, I could play around on the machines and attempt to make watch cases.
Wow.
So that was.
And what year are we talking? How long ago?
That was 2008, I think, or 2007. So
not even that long ago.
Probably like 10 years ago, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So I do that. Within like 6 or 7 months, I discover that there's a watchmaking program that is doing their applications, finalizing everything like right now. So I fill out an application, I get it out there. I think I was like a week late or something, but they need students. They can't fill up a class.
Of course. Yeah. There's not a lot of people doing that.
So they're okay taking my application late. I get in, and then it was like, I think October. The class started in December or January or something. I had to move to Florida.
It was in Florida?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. How'd you hear about it? Online?
So a German guy that my parents knew I was interested in watches, and he said, check out WOSTEP. It's a Swiss program, a curriculum, and watch companies like Rolex, Richemont, the Richemont Group and Swatch Group that own all the other brands. They operate schools so that they can train watchmakers, and they teach this WOSTEP curriculum, which is Watchmakers of Switzerland Training and Educational Program. So they teach this curriculum. It's 2 years full-time, like 40-hour work weeks. It's supposed to be 8 students in each class. They don't always fill it up, so you might have 6 people. Like my class was 6.
Are they paying you to go to school, or
They don't pay us, but the school is subsidized by the company that operates the school.
Oh,
so
wow.
my school was subsidized by Swatch Group.
Yeah.
I have friends who went to the Richemont school, and so Richemont was subsidizing their school. All you have to do is buy your tools.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then what about housing and everything?
Housing, you got to figure out on your own.
Ooh, so you're in Florida. You're just kind of like, all right, I don't know anybody here, but I'm going to learn how to build and repair watches.
Yeah.
Was it in your mind, were you thinking, once I do this, I might go to Switzerland and work for one of the big places?
That was the hope, was to figure out how to get a job in Switzerland, because I really wanted to learn the actual making, the manufacturing side, whereas all the jobs for watchmakers in the U.S. with these big companies, it's going to be repair.
Yeah, like
it's
Rolex
great,
on Wilshire.
Yeah.
They got the big repair center. And Texas, they got the big repair center there.
Yeah.
Stuff like that, which is cool because then at least you could live in the States still if you wanted. But you wanted not just repair, but also to be, let's say, at Rolex. And that's such a Fort Knox secret joint to see like the development of a sky dweller or any kind of really wild movements like that would be monumental if you're a watch freak.
Yeah.
And to be in that world would be kind of like unbelievable what you would learn.
Yeah. So that was always the goal. I mean, I emailed so many companies in Switzerland, and all of them were very, very happy to hear from me. But now, being older and knowing what I know, I realize it's not cheap to just like bring some kid over from another country and get them working in Switzerland, and also in
So
Switzerland.
they'd rather just put you in these repair places.
Much more.
Yeah.
The places over here have a hard time finding watchmakers. They don't have as many. You go to Switzerland and there's plenty of kids coming up who are watchmakers.
Yeah, so they don't need to move anybody over there. And also they really need people in the repair world because there's millions of watches out there now. Millions. And they, especially with Rolex, they just need these service centers. What are you going to do if there's no more people working on watches? What, are you going to ship them all to Switzerland? That'd be a nightmare. So,
it does happen, though, that way.
Yeah.
There are certain brands that they don't have the manpower to work on their watches. And they're also not like the super high end. But there are brands that the movements are taken out of the watch here in the U.S. They put a brand new movement from Switzerland in the watch. They send the old movement back to Switzerland. It'll get refurbished and it'll go into somebody else's watch. So it's like
wow!
They just cycle the movements.
That's
through, which
crazy,
is crazy,
right? Think you have like say a 2005 Rolex, and then the movement goes bad, and they just drop a new movement in there. And go, oh, we fixed it, but really they sent that movement, and then it's in somebody else's watch later.
Yeah,
that's wild.
Yeah, so that does happen sometimes in some of the lower end big companies.
So you go to school for the full 2 years?
Yeah, so I did the full 2 years there, and then.
And how's Florida for you out there? It's like, are you working like a Starbucks job or something at night, or how are you surviving?
You know, I didn't have to do that. I was really fortunate. I lived in housing at USC that was owned by some slumlords.
Yeah,
and they actually did all kinds of illegal stuff, and a very smart neighbor of mine came to me and said, I don't think we should be putting up with this. I don't think they can do this. So we got together and found a lawyer, ended up with a whole class action lawsuit against this housing company. And that was before I left USC. So by the time I was going into watchmaking school, I was starting to get checks from that class action finally settling.
Whoa! So there was some shady properties around USC, because that's a terrible neighborhoods all around there.
Yeah.
And they're definitely preying on these student kids and their families, just whatever, just paying the rent. That's an interesting, wow. So you got that lump sum. Now you kind of got like a cool cushion. Like when I started comedy, I got lucky and did a movie, put all the money in the bank, and was like, all right, I'm going to live on $20 a day.
Yep.
And go for my dream.
Yeah,
so
it allows you to try something different.
Right.
Otherwise, you'd have to have a regular 9 to 5, and you come home tired, and you don't want to. Yeah. You don't want to step out there and try something new and different at that point. So it was really helpful.
So you're out there, you go to school for 2 years, and in that 2 years, do you learn everything about building a watch?
No.
You
get the basics.
No shit, huh? 2 years is the basics.
Yeah. So it's, you learn how to make parts, but it's all done by hand. No CNC, no...
Whoa, hand filing the gears and everything?
Yeah, so we had some motorized lathes, which if you've ever seen like a baseball bat being made, that's where the part is turning, and then your stationary cutting tool.
Absolutely.
So we had some of those with motors on them, but then we also had ones with no motors, and that's where you have this little wheel, and you're turning the wheel with one hand, and the other hand you're holding the cutting tool and cutting the part. And these parts were tiny. The smallest parts that go into a watch. These are the ones that they had us making.
So you're wearing like goggles, like
so we've got our watchmaker's loop.
Yeah.
So one eye, we're looking through and watching the tool cut the part, and then you stop every like 5 seconds, so however much material you're trying to remove, and you'll measure the part, and you'll keep cutting. But everything's got to be perfectly square and perfect dimensions and everything. Very tight tolerances. Then you've got the polishing after that, all done by hand. So they try and teach you the hardest things. They don't teach you everything, but they try and teach you the hardest things. And then they figure when you get into another workshop, if you've mastered that one thing that was really hard, you should be able to make this easy part and do all right.
Most people would tap out on the hard stuff, and then why teach them the easy stuff? And then if they get to the hard shit, they're like, "Oh, this is fucked." Just throw them in the fire right away.
Exactly. So that you got 2 years of that.
That's insane. That kind of stuff. It takes a different kind of human. When I watch a guy work on like a AP 2121 movement or something, and they're just making that by hand. I always love when people go like, "Oh, those fucking watches cost so much money. It's so stupid." It's like, you know how insane it is that some human is making those little wheels in there, and putting all that like a turbulent or whatever. Like that is crazy to me.
Yeah, and the number of steps, the number of people involved in something like making an Audemars Piguet with the 2120.
Yeah.
Thousands probably in their factory. I mean, there are thousands of people, and then you've got the one guy who all he does is pinions. He's like, all I do is cut pinions, and I just cut them. I don't know how to do the polishing or the burnishing or anything. I just cut the pinion. The next guy, all he does is burnish.
Yeah,
because he's really good at that, and that's it.
There's got to be a few guys in there, the master guys that can do the whole watch. Right?
Yeah, special workshop for that.
Yeah.
Those where are they're dealing with like
one-off.
There's only one of these watches.
We're making one for John Mayer.
Yeah,
it's $2 million. We got to get this thing going here. It's one guy. And what do you think? And we'll carry on with your school. But I always wondered this. What do you think? One AP Royal Oak movement or Patek, say Nautilus, Aquanaut, that movement, they share the same movement. But what do you think that takes to make one movement? How much time?
Well, if you just wanted to try and make one,
I
think it would take you. So they've got everything well set up. Everything's like a nice, well-oiled machine. But if that was being transferred to, say, my workshop and we were going to make it, it would take at least 3 years.
Whoa, 3 years for one movement?
Yeah, just to transfer, part files.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
what do you think they do it in, though, since they're pretty... Because I always...
For them?
I always want to try to gauge the time because, the difference between Patek and Rolex, how many watches they make. Yeah. Rolex makes $1 million a year, and then Patek, I think, makes like 1,000 a year.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
Patek makes more than that.
Do they? What do they make? I wonder.
So when I worked at Audemars, Patek made 16,000.
16,000 a year.
16,000 a year.
Wow.
Or no, more than that. Sorry, I got that backwards.
Yeah.
Patek made
60,000
a year.
Yeah.
Audemars
That's still
Piguet,
compared to $1 million.
Yeah. And then Audemars Piguet was like 30 or 32, and Vacheron Constantin, they were at 16.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, does Rolex do a lot of machines, computers now making the parts?
Yeah.
They got to be, right? They're making 1 million watches.
All the companies, they're going to use CNC to make the parts. They don't have anyone sitting...
Oh, they don't got that anymore?
They don't have people sitting on hand lathes.
Oh, they don't have that anymore?
Only for the restoration department. If you brought in like a early 1900s pocket watch that was a minute repeater or something, they'd have somebody that could do all of that work. But that's the one guy workshop where he can make a watch start to finish. Your typical workshop is going to be, you've got your first workshop where you have all the CNC. They're going to make all the rough parts. Then you're going to have an automated finishing workshop where they're going to do things like throw parts into a tumbler and get the burrs off in a big batch. You're also going to have certain parts that can't go through that. They have to be hand finished. So those will go to...
Like the stuff you see in an exposed opening, like an exposed back.
Case backs, really delicate parts where you can't have corners get rounded, like escape wheels and things where you need one surface really like mirror polish. Parts like that take really specific polishing. Chamfering on bridges, things like that. That's all going to be done by hand.
And then is it put together by hand?
Depends on the watch. So if you go to a workshop like Audemars Piguet, all the movements put together by hand. If you go to a workshop like Rolex, you're going to have hand assembly, but you're also going to have automated lines.
Have what?
Automated lines.
Oh, wow. Like actual robots putting it together.
Yeah.
Like what? Dropping dials on and...
It's really pretty advanced now. The big workshops can assemble an entire movement with almost no human intervention.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. So that makes me even more furious at Rolex with this fabricated world of just none out there. It's like, come on, man. Are you out of your mind? I mean, I know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I do enjoy the game of that, because if everybody could have one, no one would want one. That's just how it goes. That is the absolute truth of the watch world. 3 years ago, you could walk in any Bend Bridge and pick up any Rolex except the Daytona. And everybody knew the game. You buy like 4 or 5 Rolexes, and then you get onto the list for the Daytona, and you got one. That was always the cool game, a lot like Ferrari. But now to make them all unavailable is definitely steering interest back into Panerai, and Omega is blowing up from that.
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's great for the watch world that Rolex is doing that, but I don't think it's great for them. I think it's great for other companies now.
Yeah, that's what I think, yeah. And I do think this new CEO over the last few years, the guy running it, might find himself in a corner of like, we better start releasing some watches.
Yeah.
And that's when a lot of people, if we go back to 2006 and look at the green lens, green crystal Milgauss, that was the first watch other than the Daytona that went like 18,000. I saw one in Aspen when I was up there skiing. The anger of these people that pay in the gray market. What happens if you're paying in the gray market $25,000
for like a $12,000 watch? Or are they even 12,000?
Yeah, the 12.9 for a Daytona, 14.9 for the Sky Dweller. It's definitely a strange game, and it's led me also over all these years of learning, oh wow, Patek and AP are really the beautiful, beautiful watches. And Gerald Genta, which is just mind-boggling to me that he produced the 2 coolest watches ever. That, in my eyes, the AP Royal Oak, which I hated growing up, I was like, that thing's dumb. You know, I hated it.
It's a weird-looking watch, but something about it is so magnetic for anyone who starts to really think about like watches and what really goes into making them.
When you put on a thin watch and realize what goes into making a movement that thin, as we look at your watches here, they're pretty standard thickness, almost a little thinner than Rolex, which is cool. But when you think about that, and you're wearing a Royal Oak, I put on a 5402, and I couldn't believe I had a watch on. I was like, this is incredible.
Yeah. That was the thinnest centrally wound, full oscillating weight movement for like 40 years or something. They had the record for 40-something years.
It's on, and even the thinner ones now I don't even like the watch. You know, I'm like, oh, they're like actually like a paper thin. That's super weird. But still, when you look at AP and the Nautilus, and one guy designed it on a napkin or whatever in an hour, you're like, that guy is a goddamn genius.
Yeah.
And even some of his weird watches that I've recently been diving down the rabbit hole of like, oh, even his stuff is ugly and weird and cool at the same time.
Yeah.
But those designs after a diver's mask and a submarine porthole window, all that stuff is just so cool. And when you think about it, most watches all look the same. They're round. They got the numbers and everything. And then there was like Frank Mueller's that were a strange shape, and people started having different shapes, those Hublots and all that. But when you look at it, though, it's amazing that people would gravitate towards those shapes, because it's such a safe world in the watch world.
Right.
And for that Milgauss to come out with a green lens and a lightning bolt hand, of course the early ones had lightning bolt, but orange and different hour markers and shit, you're going like, wow, that's pretty ballsy for Rolex. So it's definitely a great world out there for watch freaks.
Yeah.
Because it does create buzz. Can't get these watches, these blogs, these websites. It's a weird world. I want a 15202, like completely bad. After a while, you just kind of give up. You're like, oh. You just kind of run out. You're like, oh.
Yep.
Wait a minute, this is 24 grand, but they're 60 grand. You know, like Nautilus is just dumb now. Because it's said to a world now, if you got one, you would just have to sell it. Right? A guy like you or I, like a blue collar guy, say you're on the list and you finally get the call, you go, okay, I got it for 24, but they're selling for 60. God, I could use that money.
Right?
It's such a brutal world.
Yep.
I don't know. I think in the real world for me, if I just got a AP 15202 Royal Oak, I'd be like, okay, that's it. One watch, there we are.
Yeah.
And just wear that till you die.
After I went to watchmaking school and graduated, I immediately got a job at Audemars Piguet.
No shit.
And I got to go to Switzerland.
Oh, so do you move to Switzerland?
I didn't move to Switzerland, no, because it's very hard to actually get hired over there as an American. But you can work for the company and you can go there and you can train.
Oh,
and
shit.
That was my first time going to Switzerland.
Oh, yeah.
As this kid
Zurich?
growing up, loving watches. Flew into Geneva, and then nice car picks us up and drives us over the mountains to a little town called Le Brassus.
Whoa, that's cool.
Yeah.
And so you're going there for training, and how long?
That was just a couple weeks. That was a quick training.
Did they put you in like an apartment or something, or housing?
Beautiful hotel that they own. So that little town, it's basically all Audemars Piguet.
Is
the
that
whole
it?
street is buildings. You know, this building does the case making. This building does the thin movements. This is the restoration workshop. That's the new workshop. The whole street is pretty much Audemars Piguet.
Whoa.
So one of the buildings, they have their museum in. Another building is a hotel and restaurant. So if you're a client of theirs, and I mean a really good client, they'll invite you to the workshop, to the atelier. And you can go to the atelier. They'll
like John Mayer's for sure been in there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if he wants to, then he has been there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you go there, and for 2 weeks, they're going to train you to do factory repairs back in the States?
More just kind of like get the brand in your blood.
Ooh.
If you can imagine never having been to Switzerland as a watchmaker and never really seeing all that goes into a watch, even 2 years in school, I had no idea how much goes into making a watch.
Even 2 years
I went
in?
there. Yeah.
When you get there, do they immediately give you a tour and you go, I'm like, holy shit, I don't know nothing.
Yeah, it was just like shocking to see the actual parts being made on CNC machines and these workshops with 50 watchmakers in there, all just hand beveling wheels and bridges.
So the whole town is just employees and they live in that town and everything?
So that area, that Valley de Joux, Le Brassus is a small town there. And pardon my French, I don't speak French.
Whatever. Yeah, I can barely, I don't even say the brand name. I'm always like AP because I don't want to even attempt it.
Exactly.
I just fuck it up all the time. I love stuff I don't know how to pronounce.
Yeah.
These DVLA speakers, AP watch. You're
Right.
just like, is it Patek? Is it Patek? Is it, everybody's different.
Yeah. I mean, over there, that whole valley traditionally is where the best watches came from in Switzerland. So you
who are we
have
talking about?
amazing watchmakers.
Because they all use the same movement, right? Nautilus, until recently.
So JLC.
JLC.
Whatever.
Yeah.
They're over in the valley making parts, assembling watches. They make parts for Vacheron. They make parts for Patek. They make parts for Audemars. They make parts for a lot of other companies, but I don't know for sure who, but I just know that they make parts for them.
Yeah, because I know early when the Nautilus and the 5402 came out, and they were all sharing that one movement. Kind of, they had their own version of it, but it was basically the kind of ground zero of that.
So, like with Audemars Piguet, at the watchmakers, you'll get specific training, and you'll get trained to a certain level. I didn't work on the 2120s, which is that ultra thin automatic. I didn't work on those at Audemars.
Yeah.
I was not allowed.
Wow.
However, when I went to Vacheron, I got my training there, and they have the 1120, which is the same caliber.
Oh,
they
shit.
use the 1 prefix instead of the 2.
Okay.
So there's also the 2003, which is an ultra thin manual wind at Audemars. They have the 1003 at Vacheron. But anyway, there's a lot of crossover like that with those companies because they did partner together to make really good, groundbreaking, like ultra thins, ultra complex. They'd get together and do that sort of thing. But that whole valley is known for watchmaking. It's got a long history. Lots of watchmakers going through school, living there, being trained by family members. So on the other hand, you have Patek all the way outside of Geneva on the other side. And they're actually advertising in the newspapers in the valley there, up in Valley de Joux, looking for watchmakers. Like, we will bus you down into Geneva.
Yeah.
You can work for us. We'll pay you this, but we'll provide transportation. You could still live in the valley, but work for us.
Oh, so
They're trying to get
because everybody just lives
Yeah.
there, and wow,
Yeah.
that's wild, right?
So it's interesting.
It's almost
there.
like techies in San Fran.
Yeah.
We know it sucks to live in Daly City, but if you want to live in San Fran or whatever, we'll
bus
truck
you,
you to
yeah.
Palo Alto or whatever.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Wow.
So that, I mean, if you're into watches at all and you're ever in that area, like surrounding it, even Germany or France, even Italy, you can take a little cruise up to Geneva and through the valley and see some amazing places. Even if you can't figure out how to get invited into any of them, it's pretty cool just to go see the buildings and drive through these tiny towns and think that 25,000 Audemars Piguet watches are made on this street every year
That's
by these
crazy.
hundreds of workers that, you know, it's in their blood.
The employees, I'm sure there's some kind of maybe guys your age and some hipsters and stuff. I'm sure late night they're making their own kind of wild versions.
Yeah, not necessarily in the AP workshops or anything like
Right.
that. But I have met some guys that, you know, they have their own home workshops and they're making some really cool stuff.
Wow,
Yeah.
like some different versions of the Royal Oak and
No, usually it's completely different.
oh, that's
you
cool.
know, like
yeah,
I do that at work all
Yeah,
day,
I'm sure
and
they're
I'm going to
burnt
make
on
something
that.
that's
Right.
like wildly
Yeah.
different.
So you're there only for 2 weeks, and do you pick up enough? Like you said, it's just to get it in your blood.
Just to get it in your blood.
Right.
Because back in Clearwater, Florida, Audemars Piguet has a service center there.
Oh, I got you.
So there you've got some of the best watchmakers in the U.S. are working there. Guys who have, some of them came over from Switzerland working there with training in perpetual calendars and equation of time and minute repeaters and all these really complex watches. They're working in Clearwater.
Oh shit!
And
So you
they've-
get a job there?
I didn't get a job there. I went there to train after being in Switzerland. So then I'm training there, getting the more technical knowledge, actually like diving into the watches. Whereas in Switzerland, it was more see what's there, you know, the manufacturing side.
Yeah.
The manufacturing and the history.
Do you get to finally get your hands on a Royal Oak?
You know, at that point, I think I was doing some stuff on the offshores.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was doing some simple stuff on offshores in that workshop, some basic stuff, learning from them there.
How long are you there?
I was there for I think a month or 2.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly, but it was a while there in Clearwater at their facility, and then I went to New York, and I worked in the New York boutique and the New York headquarters. They have a watchmaking facility in the boutique, or they did. They no longer have it. It was in the boutique, and then also one up on the, I think it was like the 57th floor of their headquarters there.
Like, how you paying rent? Like, were they paying good? Because that's like big money to live in. Were you living
It
in
is
like
big money
Queens
to-
or something?
I lived in Brooklyn
Yeah.
and came over
Every day?
You know, so it's not like crazy money
Not
or
at all,
anything
yeah.
like that. You can't afford APs just because you work for AP, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it's good pay for getting to do what you love.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
You know?
Hell yeah.
And also all the learning and just experiencing a company with that much history and that much, you know, high level watchmaking.
Yeah, it's a dream job.
Yeah.
So how do you leave the dream job to start
was
building
very-
watches? Because you got to be
Well,
in kind of heaven.
I was loving it there.
Yeah.
And then I was approached by Vacheron.
Yeah.
So Vacheron approached me, and there was an offer to go to Switzerland, live there for a while, and train in more complex watches.
Did they just catch you on a street corner like Willy Wonka, like "Psst, over here, or like they trying to snatch dudes?
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow. No shit, huh? How
So-
did they approach you?
Well, I went and I got some contacts through email, and then through the emails, they wanted to have me meet with the president at the time in Manhattan. So I met with the president of Vacheron. His name was Hugues Depins.
Yeah.
These French names, man. Very like if you just see the business card, you have no idea how to say hello to this person.
Yeah. You don't know
But,
the brand or the guy's
yeah.
name.
So I go to a lunch, have a wonderful lunch, and really what got me was the training. Going to Switzerland and actually living there for a while and getting this training in complex watches. So I decided to go with Vacheron for a while. I moved to Geneva, or just outside Geneva, worked in their facility there and trained, did that. Afterwards, I came back to the U.S., went to their Dallas service center,
Oh, yeah.
worked there, trained more with their guys in that service center.
Yeah, you're fucking moving all over.
Yeah.
You got to have like no furniture and shit, right?
Yeah,
You're just
at that point, there
backpack
was
living.
nothing. Yeah. And at that point, from there, when their boutique on Rodeo was almost ready to have the watchmaker setup put into it, I moved out here. So back to LA basically.
Right.
And finished setting that up, worked there for a while. And that was when I really kind of got the itch and started feeling like I've learned quite a bit. And I think I might have more fun with watchmaking if I get to try making my own parts, my own watches, and doing my own design work. So
Wow. So that's a ballsy thing. Do you kind of make them at night on your own and keep
Yeah.
your day gig?
yeah, for a while I was just doing stuff in the evenings and my days off because that was in a retail store. So I'm the watchmaker in the retail store, so I could get weekdays off.
Yeah.
You know, because you get 2 days off a week or whatever, and it didn't have to be on the weekends. And in fact, they didn't want it to be on the weekends because that's a busy time. So I could do stuff, meet with machine shops and meet with designers and suppliers and things like that. And I was able to launch the Field Watch. And before we launched, I think it was a few weeks before we launched, like I was getting enough internet buzz from people that my boss found out.
Wow. Wow.
And I was like, wow, okay.
What,
this
did
is-
you post one up on Instagram
Well-
and say, hey, these are going to be a limited edition?
I didn't have a personal Instagram at that point. I wasn't like a social media guy. I hadn't been doing Facebook for many years.
Right.
But my wife did do social media for other companies, social media and internet marketing. So she set me up with the Instagram and a Facebook page for the business. And we had this one show in San Francisco we were going to launch at. And so as we're leading up, we're doing a little bit of marketing, but I guess the other watchmakers in the U.S. area, you know, got word that like, wow, somebody's making watches in LA. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So anyway, at that point, I had to make the decision of, do I leave Vacheron? Like I haven't launched the brand just yet. Do I leave Vacheron and do this? Or do I just say, you know, I have this amazing job with Vacheron, I should stick around. But something that the director over in Switzerland said, the director of after sales service, he said to me when I was over there, you know, once you're a Vacheron watchmaker, you're always a Vacheron watchmaker. At any time, if you want to work on the other side of the world in some boutique, you know,
Oh, you could just get your job back.
yeah, like
Oh, shit. Yeah, because
You know,
they
you're
need
trained.
people like you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
you're trained, like you've been vetted, you know what you're doing. You know, so if you're ever unhappy with whatever situation you're in, there's another job for you anywhere in the world at any boutique.
That's cool.
You know, so that stuck with me a bit. And I thought, you know, if I don't do this thing right now, I'm going to regret it
Yeah.
at some point.
Take the jump.
Yeah, so I went for it, and it's been successful ever since. It's been wonderful.
Let's get into it now. Was this the first design? Or sorry, the Field Watch. This is the Field Watch, right? So
Yeah.
is this
So-
the first design you come up with?
Yeah, the 42 millimeter Field Watch is the
And-
first thing we did. Black dial,
Yep.
stainless steel case,
Yeah.
and the olive canvas strap.
Beautiful strap.
So kind of like a military inspired design.
Yeah. Some
Very
Brad
simple.
Pitt shit on a movie here.
Yep.
You know, let's talk about how many designs that you made where you designed it on the computer, the graphics, the dial, the size, everything. Were there a bunch of prototypes until you got one, or did you just nail it out of the gate?
So I made a bunch of designs on the computer
Yep.
before doing anything. And I did a lot of 3D printing with some different vendors where you can just
Yeah,
email
of
over your
course.
files and then
That's
they send
cool.
you a print.
Wow.
Just to see, something might look cool on the computer, but I'm sure you've had that with a watch. You see pictures of it, you love it, and then you actually hold
Put
it
it-
and you're like,
Put
what
it
is
on.
this?
It's like a hamburger on your wrist.
Yeah. So we went through that and I kept tweaking things, and eventually I landed on this design, had it printed, wore it for a while, and I just loved it.
You were wearing the 3D printed one?
Yeah, it was like a white 3D printed case, and
Wow,
I
that's-
shoved a little dial in there, no movement,
Yeah.
but I just wore it that way with the green strap, and just to see how it felt and the way it looked on the wrist.
Wow. And then once you get the one, how do you start making them? Are you having somebody make them? And then at what point do you have your own movement? Because these movements are made in Los Angeles. At first, are you using ETA movements or what's going on?
So at the beginning,
Yep.
we started with the ETA 6497 movement, which we did some decoration and engraving to just customize it for Weiss.
Yeah, right.
So that was our caliber 1001 is what we called it. That one was in all of our watches at the start. So Swiss guts, basically, Swiss mechanical movement. And then everything else on the outside we were making here in the LA area. Except for the case backs. We didn't do the case backs on the first one because we had a slightly different design on the case back, which we couldn't manufacture here. I couldn't find somebody that could do it, which is why I went to the 4 screws.
Right.
Because I could get somebody to do it here and we could make the entire case in LA. But I subbed that kind of work out, the machine shop work, out to different companies here in Los Angeles mostly, and was able to kind of piece together the whole watch with local vendors and the Swiss movement.
This is actually an LA made watch because I heard, what's that one company in Detroit?
Shinola.
Yeah, I heard that is actually a little bit of a smokescreen. Not all made in the States. Do you know anything about that, or is that rumor? Or
I mean, with Shinola,
yeah,
I think people wanted to believe a lot more was going on.
yeah,
I don't think they were hiding anything, but like they're making a watch in Detroit. They're putting it together. The amount of me coming from the industry, I know how much money they spent just by looking at that facility and seeing the way that they put those watches together. It's many millions of dollars went into that facility so that they could hire people and actually employ people who were not trained as watchmakers.
yeah.
You know,
I get it. Yeah, so they can
not
put them
everyone's-
together.
yeah.
You mean? Yeah,
So-
because it's so hard to find guys like you.
Yeah.
Same with their turntables. VPI is making their turntables now, but they designed them and everything. But VPI is like, hey, here's the stuff, and then they're assembled in Detroit.
Yeah.
From Jersey to Detroit. So I get
Exactly.
it. You know, it's
So instead of going in and spending even more money to try and machine the little wheels and gears and bridges and whatever parts go into the movement and the case and all of that, they're using vendors overseas to get those parts, but they're still assembling a quartz movement and an entire watch in a factory in Detroit, which is pretty unbelievable.
yeah. Oh, those are battery watches?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, those are all going to be quartz.
Gotcha.
But the fact that they have an assembly line where they are actually mass producing a watch in the U.S. is mind-boggling.
It's great. It's
Yeah.
any USA stuff is fantastic. This one here happens to be my favorite. It's got a green dial, brown leather band. Is your goal to get all automatic movements into the watches eventually?
No, not necessarily.
No?
I want to have an automatic line, and I hope someday to be able to make that automatic in the U.S.
Yeah.
But I will always have a manual wind watch.
Gotcha.
There will always be a manual.
Let's get into the prices of them now. I know everybody's wanting to know the whole time, and it's easy to find out. Go to his website or his Instagram. But The 42 millimeter is what, $2,400?
Starts at $2,500 for the 42,
Yep.
which is all made here in the U.S.
Yeah.
Except for a few tiny little parts I will mention.
Yep.
The sapphire jewels, that they're little bearings, and then the hairspring, which is a crazy part that takes a special alloy that we would actually have to melt a batch of metals and create an alloy and then make the spring.
Are
Just
yours
not-
hairsprings good for the TSA, like magnetic fields and stuff?
I don't ever recommend sending any watch through the conveyor belt.
Of course. Yeah.
Always wear your watch if you can. Sometimes it's
my
tough
buddy
if you're
sent it
traveling
through there
with multiples.
twice, and it demagnetized it. You know?
Yeah,
Twice.
exactly. So, I mean, sometimes you're okay, but a lot of times if you send it through the conveyor belt, you're going to get to your destination and your watch is not going to be working properly.
Yeah.
Which really stinks.
Oh God, yeah.
It's not hard to demagnetize a watch if you're a watchmaker and you have the little machine. But
And all watches go right through the thing. They don't ring off. People
Yeah.
don't understand that.
Yeah.
They do not ring off in the X-ray, the walk-through machine.
yeah. In fact, you're supposed to keep your wallet and your watch, jewelry, anything like that on your person going through the thing, simply because TSA doesn't have the right insurance.
Yeah.
So if you had cash in your wallet or a nice watch,
Yep.
they can't cover it if it gets stolen off the conveyor belt.
Yeah. So 2,500 for the 42 millimeter. Then the 38 is what?
The 38 automatic is
Yep.
going to be $1,850.
Yeah.
And then the 38 manual, which is like nice thin one.
Yeah, that's
38
nice.
manual. That one is going to be $1,150.
That's great.
So-
Great deal. What kind of
Yeah.
warranties with them?
We do a 2-year warranty. Any manufacturer's defect, obviously, if you drop the watch or
Yeah, of course.
or drive over it with your car or something, we're not going to cover it. But
Yeah.
we're always here for the life of the watch, and my entire life at least. I can't say for future
Yeah.
generations, but I will always be here if I'm alive to fix these watches at any point, whether you break it or if it's warranty.
So you took the gamble and you started your own company, and here we are sitting here looking at these watches. How many are you selling a year? Are you killing it?
We do a couple thousand watches a year now.
Wow. How
Yeah.
many employees you got?
We have been up, we've been down. It's hard to find watchmakers and keep them around. Just
Yeah.
like me, I was jumping around going for more
Yeah,
training.
yeah.
But I've had as many as 5 people working at a time, and right now it is just myself and my wife.
Wow.
So I do all the watches right now, and she does all the sales, marketing,
Oh,
any kind
wow.
of communication stuff.
That is some fucking work.
Yeah. So it's
what's a work a day for you? 10 hour?
at least, yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow, that is great.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing though to have gone from just being someone who was a tinkerer and interested in watches to Audemars and Vacheron, and now having my own workshop where literally in the back door we can take brass and steel and goes into our own CNC machines.
Yeah.
I
Where are you
own
at?
My own CNC machines.
Where
We're
you
down in Torrance.
Torrance.
Yeah.
God, that is cool.
Yeah.
And does it put a lot of weight on you and your wife as far as are you guys cool, or is it stressful on the marriage? Because that's a heavy load.
We work really well together.
That's great.
I have friends who could not do this
Yeah.
with their spouses, but for us,
I got friends that shouldn't even be married. So I get it.
but
God,
we
that's,
do well with it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, do you do all the watch shows? Have you ever gone to Basel or anything?
I have been to Basel. It's cool. However, it's definitely on the decline
it's
right
done
now.
now. Yeah, but I'm saying, where did you go to shows and launch? Like, did you go?
So I don't ever go to shows to really show off our watches.
It's
and
just
try and make
Instagram,
sales.
right?
Our really word of mouth, Instagram, some Facebook. We've done a few little like straight to direct to consumer menswear shows and things like that.
Yeah.
That are totally outside the watch world. And then for me, I'll go to Switzerland to some of the manufacturing shows.
Yeah.
To see like the behind the scenes stuff, but there's no finished watches there. It's only like we make this little part that goes on the watch dial. And
Yeah, I get it. It's kind of like the
that.
NAM show of watches. I'm glad you came and did the show, dude. I'm pretty fired up to have you on, and this is This is cool, man. This is just really cool stuff. And this is cool too. They're all numbered, so there's a lot of limited edition ones. This is 1 of 50.
Yeah, so every single watch has a serial number.
Yeah. But then there's limited runs. Like
then there's limiteds. That one's 1 of 50 right there.
And that's the new one that's kind of...
Rover dial, yeah.
It's off of like a Range Rover kind of Speedo or whatever?
Yeah, so I've got a 71 Series 2A Range Rover, and I always... or Land Rover.
Did you drive it here?
I did not drive it here.
Yeah.
That one, like summertime, you can't take it away from the beach. It has to be near the beach because it's just no AC, super slow.
Yeah.
You don't want to be sitting on the 110 or the freeways or anything, sitting in traffic, sweating your ass off. But that, I was looking at the gauge and just, I couldn't put my finger on it. Something about it is totally odd for that car and just wildly awesome. Like these numerals, they're kind of like Western Art Deco mix to me.
Yeah, they definitely look like the Wild West, right? Which is weird. It looks
but I thought it was so cool.
It looks like Gunsmoke.
So I just modeled the dial after that, and then also the hands.
Yeah.
I took those like pretty much straight from the gauge.
Is this the first one that the dial also glows, the numbers?
Yes.
And are you making the dials?
So when we first started,
yeah,
we not only machined the brass dial part that's underneath,
yeah,
but I also personally painted and printed the dials in my apartment.
That's insane, dude.
We no longer do that.
My God.
After the first year and a half of that, I had enough of having paint in my hands and mixing the batches of ink and doing all of that.
Oh my God, dude.
So finally I found a great vendor that they're here in the US, and they actually do a lot of stuff for the car industry where they're making like the buttons and the gauges and stuff like that. When you see your window button and it's got the little window on there, they're putting that there. So they do all kinds of work in the car industry, and they do the paint on our dials.
Are they waterproof? I forgot to ask.
So yeah, all of our watches are water resistant. Nothing's waterproof in the watch world.
Yeah, I get it.
Because waterproof would mean that if water got into it, it wouldn't be damaged.
Right.
But all watches would be damaged if water actually got in there.
So what depth on that?
So these are 300 feet.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. They're not like a dive watch. They don't have a screw down crown or anything.
300 feet though.
Yeah.
Shit.
But they've got good water resistance.
And Horween leather straps.
Yes. All the leather is from Horween. The leather straps I don't make here in LA. They're made in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Yeah.
And that guy has been making some amazing leather straps for the longest time. He is personal friends with the Horween family as well.
Yeah.
So he gets some really great leathers from Horween.
These green military bands are beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, it's great to have you on, man. I can't thank you enough. And give everybody a shout on the podcast here, what the website is and your Instagram and everything.
Yeah, you can check us out at WEISSWatchCompany.com.
WEISS.
That's right, WEISS, Weiss Watch Company. You can also find us on Instagram, Weiss Watch Company, or Facebook. You can find me. I'm Cameron M. Weiss on Instagram.
I was going to ask you, I love how it says Los Angeles on it. What does it say underneath here? I couldn't see on this one.
So this particular one, that green dial says caliber 1003.
Uh-huh. What's that?
So that's the caliber.
Oh, I got you.
Our U.S.-made caliber is the caliber 1003.
Oh, I got you. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And do you make these bags, too, if people are looking for watch bags?
Yeah. These pouches.
Yeah, those are great.
I always liked the watch pouches that I found, from other brands and stuff like that. But I like to travel with a watch and at least 2 straps and a strap changing tool.
Oh, wow.
But where do you put the strap changing tool so it doesn't scratch your watch?
Yeah.
So I made these
Slots.
with a special little pouch inside the pouch to keep the strap changing tool from scratching your watch.
That's great. Did you ever get an AP?
I never did, because when I was leaving AP, I had to move from New York to the West Coast.
Oh yeah.
So I was scared with my savings and how much. Yeah. But there was this amazing 15202.
Oh.
It was yellow gold 15202.
Oh, I love that with the green face.
This one had the white dial.
Oh yeah.
It was gorgeous.
They made one this year with the green dial. Yeah. It's wild.
Yeah.
And you almost bought it?
Well, so there's an employee discount possible.
How much?
At Audemars Piguet. It's not necessarily how much. It's, you got to go talk to the CEO and see what he'll do for you.
Yeah.
But it's usually based on cost, and that one was a significant discount because of the increase in gold watches.
Right.
It was rising quicker than they were selling gold watches. So when they buy in a watch and it might be $10,000 for them to get it from Switzerland, and it was a $25,000 watch, but then there was a price increase and a price increase and a price increase.
Because gold was going up.
Yeah, so at that time it was a $65,000 watch, and the potential would have been for like a $15,000 purchase maybe. But I couldn't approach that at that time. But
man, that's a brutal one.
Yeah, I keep thinking about that watch. It was
you have
beautiful.
any other watches besides yours? High end?
Yeah, I've got a Rolex, a vintage Rolex Submariner.
Oh, cool.
The not 15202 always confuses me because it's the 5512.
Yeah,
5512 is what
yep.
I've got. All these 5s and 2s confuse me, but so I got the 5512, and then I've also got a Tudor. What is it? The Pelagos?
Oh yeah, Pelagos. Yeah,
yeah. I've got
you
that
the
blue dial.
One? Oh yeah. That's a great watch. Titanium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that watch, especially for the band.
Oh, it's so comfortable.
That metal band is one of the best bands ever produced.
It's
with
like
the
flyweight
thing.
Yeah,
as
spring
well.
loaded. That thing's cool. How the as your wrist expands, the thing just kind of opens up. You don't ever have to adjust it.
Yeah, one of the best designs for a bracelet, I think. So that was mainly the reason behind buying that watch, was to check out that bracelet. And I mean, maybe we'll make a bracelet at some point.
Yeah.
For some watch, if we ever make a dive watch.
I love the Black Bay 58.
Yeah.
It's a great watch.
Yeah.
Killing it.
I think Tudor does a really good job.
They do.
Of making a watch that's more approachable, but still awesome product. A whole lot of watchmaking that goes into it. Just, I think they're a great brand as far as what they're bringing to market and the price point that they're at.
Yeah, I had the head guy on, and he went to Hodinkee. He just left, which is like, whoa.
That's right. Yeah, he's doing their, what is it, like head of retail or something like that?
Something, yeah.
Right?
I couldn't believe they snatched him from Tudor.
So he was at Vacheron when I worked at Vacheron.
Oh, really?
And he was just getting ready to leave to go to Tudor.
Oh, shit.
When I was joining Vacheron.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for doing the show, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to my listeners hearing about this. I know I got a lot of watch lovers out there, and it'll be great. And also, email them and find out, can they see these anywhere in stores around America or...
Yeah. I mean, you can hop on our website and you can see the full retailer list
cool.
at WEISSWatchCompany.com.
Yeah.
But if you're in the Texas area, there's an awesome store called Stag Provisions in Austin, Houston, and Dallas. We also have one here on Abbot Kinney.
Oh, yeah.
They've got them. But yeah, we've got like 50 or 60 retailers throughout the U.S. and then a few Japan. We got some in Canada, France, Germany.
And how many watches you doing a year again?
We do about 2,000 a year.
Shit.
It varies though, year to year, depending on how much I can physically work.
Oh my God! Without going crazy, right? Your hands get fucked up.
There was one point last year, just before the holidays, where I was working quite a bit polishing, and I was starting to feel like I might get tendonitis in my hand. So I stopped for a little while and took it easy because I did not want that to happen. But yeah, it can really, your hands,
repetitive motion.
Tendons started clicking in weird ways.
Ooh.
But
well, thanks for doing the show, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. And well, I thought the show was over. And then when I turned off the mics, you told me that Bob Weir wears one of your watches. I was like, wait a minute, we got to turn back on the fucking mic. So how did that happen?
So Bob has actually been to our workshop to see our watches being made down in Torrance.
Well, how did he hear about it?
So he heard about us, I believe, through Shinola, actually. They had mentioned that we were making mechanical watches because he had been talking to them about their watches. And apparently he's a watch guy too. Not as big as Mayer.
Right, of course, yeah.
He's a watch guy.
I mean, I just met him a couple weeks ago. He's all over the Apple Watch,
Yeah, exactly. So he's got an Apple Watch that he made a custom strap for
I
as
saw
well
it with the
his
skeletons.
skull and crossbones.
Yeah.
And he's also got our blue dial. It's kind of like this one with the kind of like latte colored numerals, but it's a blue dial.
Oh, I know that. I saw it on the site.
Yeah, so he's got that, and then he's got his custom leather strap that he made for it. But if you look at the pictures of him on stage, he's either wearing the Apple Watch or he's wearing our field watch.
So do you get an email one day? We got a customer that wants to come by. How does that happen?
No, I talked to a few people kind of around him, you know, and then
they were calling.
Eventually, it was like, Bob's going to be in town. He'd like to come into the workshop. So came into the workshop and we showed him how our watches are made. Yeah. We've been buddies ever since. Really, been to a few concerts and
that's great.
Yeah. So, which is great. He's a super nice guy and has some really interesting ideas that hopefully we'll be able to, produce
make like a steal your face version.
Yeah, something special.
Whoa, I'm on it. Count me in on that.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Count me in. Wow. So how long did he hang out for and shit?
He was there at least a couple hours.
That's so cool. He's so cool, right?
He's awesome.
He's just so grounded. He's like, I like the dial.
Yeah.
Is that dial there's a mocha? He's got his Birkenstocks on. He's just so real. Yeah. So does he buy one right there on the spot while you were there?
No, it was later. And actually, he's got a pretty special watch. It's a special one.
Oh, so you made a special one
and everything.
For him.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so rad.
But I'm always stoked when I see pictures. I'll see a picture from whatever show the other night, and he's up there wearing it.
Are you deadhead?
A little bit. My dad always was.
Yeah.
And so I kind of have been around it for a while, but never really followed them. And then all of a sudden it was like, wait a second.
Yeah.
I love seeing up on stage, and you've got Mayer there with, whatever amazing AP concept watch, and then he's always got Bob with the Weiss watch.
What's that other one he's wearing now? He's wearing that guy, the white one. What's the guy's name?
Not the Richard Mille?
Yeah. It's like wearing some of those. But yeah, man. That was cool. I had to fire back on the mics because that's a great little story there, and even cooler. Any other celebrities wear them?
Yeah, we have quite a few. A lot of times it's just, they'll buy them on the internet. Sometimes
randomly, yeah. Sometimes
their manager will buy them for them, or just so that their address isn't going out into the the
of course.
But or they stop into retailers and we don't know that they bought one until somebody at the store says, "Oh yeah, this guy was in. He was super nice. Bought one of your watches." Yeah, but it's really nice to, talk to any client really and find out their story. There's a lot of really interesting
cool.
people
The watch
out there.
world is so bizarre.
Yeah.
I mean, you got it. Just, I mean, look, from me to rich people to dirtbag, like we're all out there. Like it's definitely a great thing to collect too, because it doesn't take up a lot of room.
Right. Way easier to collect than cars, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. I had to get that story in there. There you guys go. A little bonus right there on Let There Be Talk. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and the Patreon channel, patreon.com/Dean Del Rey, for all the bonus episodes. Keep the candles lit.